Hey, all my fantasy football friends, welcome to the Multiple First Dynasty Football channel here on YouTube. This is Tony /X on the Sleeper app coming at you with our rookie 2023 running back breakdown, incoming rookie class. We're going to be chopping up the whole top half of it here today. Thank you so much for joining us. We got a great video lined up for you. I have my co-host, Mr. Greg the Velociraptor, here with me today. How are you feeling today, sir?
Oh man, I am completely locked in on this running back class. I have spent so many hours over the last 2 weeks breaking down film on these guys, and I've really enjoyed it. I am so excited for draft week now. What are we coming up on? Less than, was it 3 weeks from Saturday or 3 weeks from Thursday or something like that? I
Yeah,
think
3 weeks from Thursday. There are
3 weeks from Thursday.
23 days until the NFL draft, baby.
Right.
Let's go.
So, and I'm really excited to be able to get two videos out to you guys this week with sort of our top running backs and then one with the deeper sleepers, because I think this is a draft that's going to have some real, sprinkling of juice in rounds like 5 and 6 if you've got one of those drafts. It's a very exciting draft, and this is my favorite position group to go over in this class. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, it's a hardy class. I'm loving it. It's got elite talent at the top. It's thick in the middle. It's deep. It's everything you want out of a class. But 23 days till we find out where these dudes are going. Hit the gym, eat your Wheaties, do your laundry, stay focused, mock draft, watch some tape, and it will be here before you know it. Yeah, we're going to chop it up in a second when we get to these rookie running backs. I want to do some follow-up from our last video. We sent out a trade live on the air in this Dynasty Ballers Network 3 league that I play in. We sent out a trade Trey Lance in exchange for Desmond Ridder and a 23 second. The second was the 202, and that was accepted. So we sold Lance for this. Do we have seller's remorse here, or do we feel good about this, Craig?
I mean, look, there's a very decent chance that you got a starting quarterback and didn't give one up, right? Like I think Trey Lance. I love the value on Trey Lance right now, but you sold at a good price, I think. I also, the key thing for me in all of this is you got a guy who has been named the starting quarterback for a team that has a chance to win its division, has a chance to be good enough to not be in position to draft a quarterback next year. Maybe you got Davis Mills. That's like in the range of outcomes, is you got a third round quarterback with a guaranteed job, but 12 months from now, they're sitting on a top 5 pick drafting Drake May, right? That's totally in the range of outcomes. But the other end of the range of outcomes is you get a quarterback right now and he gets a guy who doesn't hit and you got a pick on top. I love it. I really would do that every day.
Yeah, I don't hate it. It's definitely a sell lower than where I took Lance. I think he was like an early third round startup pick in this year-old league that we're in for me. But I'm cool with it. I'll probably be looking to sell Ritter if a decent opportunity opens up, and then it's basically I just liquidated Lance into draft capital, which I'm cool with that. That's fine. That's about as good as it gets to re-roll sometimes when you're looking at these vast range of outcomes on some of these players like Lance has.
And I think Ritter has a sort of a clearer path to raise his value to liquidate in the next 6 months. That, I think, is the thing I like, right? Like, with Lance, you need him to start by winning the job, which means either beating Darnold and Purdy's not healthy, or beating Darnold and Purdy, right? One of those things. You need that to happen before you could liquidate him in some other way. So you did sell low, but I think you also bought low on Ritter, which is the way to sell low, is to buy, right? Is to sell low, but get into a buy low asset that can appreciate for you.
No, I'm going to get a pick to mess around with, and we'll be talking about who I might use that pick on today. I received an offer in this league, just to take it a step further. A playoff contender from last year, one of the better rosters for sure. This guy, A. Torres, offered me a 3-for-1 deal. Love seeing these. Love them. Always get my attention. Derrick Henry, Greg Dulcich in 24, his own 24 first-round pick. So we're going to assume a later first. Like I said, he's pretty good. And he's asking for my Kenneth Walker. So he's sending me a 3-for-1 here on my Kenneth Walker, a player I love. So, and you know me, I'm one of the biggest ages in the whole sleeper community. Mm-hmm. So a 29-year-old Derrick Henry is, I don't have a lot of that. So what do you think of this?
Yeah, so he's getting the best asset in in the in the equation, obviously, but from a points perspective, you what I like about the package side of this is that there are a lot of outs here, right? So one out is that Derrick Henry has like this one and two more really good years left, and then maybe even a slow. And all of a sudden, by the time you've used up Henry, uh, Walker's already old, and then Dulcich is free on top of that. Even if you miss with the pick, you're okay.
Yep.
But then you get another out where if you end up with the running back that hits with that pick, then you've gotten Henry in the short term and you've replaced Walker in the long term. You probably get an upgrade now. If another way, even if Dulcich misses and Henry gets old quickly, if this other guy's team has injury runs and you get a top 5 pick, that's like another out, right? It's
yeah,
totally separate.
I'm not. I just don't think that's in play. I mean, I know I was talking about. He's really big.
Pat Mahomes could tear a thing.
Mahomes,
right?
Mixon, Mike Evans, McLaurin. I mean,
Justin
Fields.
Like, that's a very old team. If Justin Fields is bad and Mahomes gets hurt,
Mixon gets cut.
Right. Yeah. Mixon gets cut. Patrick Mahomes gets injured early in the season, and Fields has a bad year. All of a sudden, you could be picking in the top 5. Like, the point is, there are many ways for you to win the deal.
Yeah.
And then the bad thing that happens is Walker is great, and Henry is probably still great for a year or two, and Dulcich is a back-end tight end one, and you miss on the pick, and you lost some value, but it's probably not a terrible loss anyway. So for me, I like that. If you want to counter back, I like that too, but I think this is an interesting construction of a trade.
I'm not gonna hammer accepting it on live here, although I'm thinking about it. I'm gonna counter him. I have been looking at this for a minute, so I already knew what I was gonna counter. I want to ask for Kadarius Toney from him. I like that player, and then I'm just gonna throw in like a later pick to compensate him for Toney. 211 seems expensive, but I'm already winning the trade before I do this. So also I think I'd rather have Toney than 211. I think this is a fair counter. Let's fire that off. All right. And tune in next week, or maybe live in this video to see how that develops. You think so?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. But I'm cool with it. All right, yeah. So there's some little rookie sweetener for you there. Let's get into the main course on these rookie running backs for 2023. Like I said, we're gonna chop up the top, kind of the top upper echelon of them here today. Not every single one. Be on the lookout for our next show where the bottom half will be done. But to start us off, we got the guy that everyone's been talking about, the darling of the fantasy community for over a year now, Bijan Robinson, 6 foot, 220-pound running back from Texas, the consensus 101 in every rookie format out there, and probably a first-round pick in a startup draft right now. Talk to me about Bijan, Greg.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, he measured it officially at the combine, 5'11", 215, and he ran a 4.46. He's a junior out of Texas. His speed score, that's a weight adjusted that's a weight adjusted 40 time. His speed score was 108.7.
Yeah.
That was the third best in the class. Speed score correlates pretty heavily to just sort of general lower body strength and burst. This is an elite runner. This is an elite receiver. He has a true 3-down skill set. He is the 101 in essentially all formats. You and I play in a 12-team league where you start one quarterback and 2 super flexes.
Yeah, 3-quarterback league. Yep.
That is
that's the test.
that is the exception.
Yeah.
I actually have 104 in that league, and I think there's a chance I get Bijan.
Yeah, what am I holding?
I think that's the exception that really proves the rule in some sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you might just need, like, in almost all formats, this is the number one player. He has very little bust possibility. I I think this is a Zeke Saquon. This is a Zeke Saquon, Fournette. Who else am I missing in that group of guys? That's a talent on that tier of player, right? And one other thing about
LaDainian
this,
Tomlinson caliber player. He was a top 5 pick. Yeah.
This is a guy who has a reasonable amount of experience split out wide. Where we're going to see his teammate Roshan Johnson later in the show, and they ran a decent number of plays where they wanted to, get Roshan some carries, and they would split Bijan out wide, and he would run out routes on cornerbacks and do little toe taps. Right, this is a guy with one of the best 3-down skill sets you'll ever possibly see.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a floor to this player, right? It's just, one of the very best players in the entire draft at any position, not just for fantasy, but for football. Yeah,
we're really going to learn a lot seeing where he goes as far as capital. The RB's been devalued. Well, now this is another litmus test for it, because this is one of the top 3 or 4 players at any position in this class, and just an elite talent, super elite talent. How far is he going to fall? Will he make it out of the top 15 selections? That's something I'm really interested to see. There's not a bad landing spot for this player. Literally any team at all is going to be great. He's an absolute rock. I think we've all heard enough about Bijan, the number 2 running back by consensus, and so Bijan's in a tier by himself at number 1, and then tier 2 is going to be a solo tier as well with only one man in it. Mr. Jahmyr Gibbs, the 5'11", 200-pound tailback from Alabama. What's up with Gibbs, Greg?
Yeah. Okay. So yet again here, Sleeper does not have the right heights and weights on these.
Is that
guys.
Not it? Yeah. Okay.
No. This is a 5'9", 199-pound.
Yeah, he came in a little bit less the combine.
Right. So and some of them are way off. So let's not use those for guys at home. Like, go to the NFL's website. Even the guys who didn't run at the combine, every single guy we're going to talk about over these 2 days weighed in at the combine.
Yep.
Right. And that is their height and that is their weight.
That's what NFL teams are looking at.
Yeah. Right. 5'9", 199, 4.36 40. That translates to a speed score of 110.1, which was the second best in the class, one spot better than Bijan. He played at Alabama. He's a transfer from Georgia Tech. This is an elite satellite plus back with maybe the ability to be a bell cow ball carrier in spurts, but this is not a 250 carry back probably. But could he be a 200 carry, 100 target back? Maybe. Right? And so that's elite volume, even without, with sub-elite carry totals. This is a guy who has an elite ability to get open. He lines up wide. He can carry the load in stretches. Probably is going to split carries with a guy who's bigger than him, which probably means he isn't on the field at the 1 yard line a lot. That is one thing to notice here for fantasy, right? And he runs in between the tackles for a guy his size pretty well. I like just about everything about him. He is an elite kick returner and a versatile weapon. And one thing that makes me a little bit hesitant about a guy like this is you can get into a situation where teams maybe decide to invest. They know he needs a partner, then they invest extra in the partner, right? And then you get him all of a sudden on kick returns, which aren't helping your fantasy team, or he's but they're helping the NFL team, but they're not helping your fantasy team. Or he's running decoy routes where he's doing like some end around mock stuff while somebody else is getting the carry inside. Like there are things that could be a problem. He also is of a size where durability could be a concern. my comp for him is like, I think he is somewhere halfway in between CJ Spiller and Christian McCaffrey, right? Like elite gadget player and all around back with a receiving first profile.
Yeah, I think those are fair comps. From watching him on tape for myself, I do see the Alvin Kamara comp. That's a common one you see, and I get that. He's really good at just making people miss like Kamara does. He doesn't have that same size though, and he finishes his runs well. He finishes his runs in a manner where he doesn't take square hits, and that reminds me a lot of Nick Chubb. His ability to just like turn and just contort himself in a way where the defender can just level him or hit him full force somewhere. So like. I like that about Gibbs. I think he could be like a great fantasy asset that's also splitting time in his backfield because he's going to get a lot of work in the passing game. Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, he's going to be my RB2, and I think a big question for him is going to be like, how do you weight him against JSN in rookie drafts when you're on the clock in that 4, 5, 6 territory? I think those are going to be decisions you're going to have to
make. Let me jump in with that a little bit here.
Yeah.
So the thing is, he looks a lot like Christian McCaffrey and Austin Eckler, who are maybe the two best fantasy. I think they were 1 and 2 last year, right? So these are.
Yeah, they were.
I think. But then when you're like, who's the third guy he's like? And the answer is nobody, right? It's a very rare, like you're shooting for a little bit of a unicorn thing, right? And there are guys with this profile who bust like LaMichael James, right? So I think there is a lack of safety for the draft capital he's going to get, but the upside is sure there for him to be a game changer. And the other thing is those McCaffrey Eckler backs seem to like hold their form to 28 better than.
Yeah, a little bit more longevity to him.
Right. So there are a lot of things to like about Jahmyr Gibbs.
Except for those 2 whole seasons that McCaffrey missed there.
Right.
But yeah, I like Jahmyr Gibbs a lot. So yeah, that's a little profile on him. Zach Charbonnet is the solo man in tier 3 all by himself in the 3rd tier, running back from UCLA. He is a very large man, and I like him a lot.
Yeah, 6 foot, 215 pounds, ran a 4.53 at the combine. He is a senior from UCLA, a Michigan transfer. There's some red flags there. We don't love it when guys are seniors. We don't love it when they transfer sideways. We like it when they transfer up, like Jahmyr Gibbs from Georgia Tech to Alabama.
Yeah.
But we don't love it when, like, did he move to UCLA because he's from California and he wanted to go back home, like he says, or was he told behind the scenes that he lost the job to Blake Corum? And then also told behind the scenes that he wasn't going to get good draft capital, so he didn't come out. And that's why he's back as a senior, right? So those are some of the red flags around him. And I think you can see his speed score of 101.6 is like a tick above average, right? Which is, again, like not all what you want to see. But he's a tough, powerful runner, averaged 4.2 yards after contact in 2022. 1 cut, gets downhill. Tough guy to stop with the momentum. Obvious hands in the dump-off game. Speed for his size is plus. He is able to run inside and outside. He's durable. Gets what is blocked and then finishes hard. Obvious goal line back. A lot of second effort conversions on 3rd and short, 4th and short in the goal line. Not a super explosive back, changing directions. Does get caught from behind occasionally. Because he's not super nimble on his feet, early penetration can lead to tackle for loss. I see that more than I'd love from the running back 3 in the class. Maybe like more of a very good athlete than an elite athlete. For me, the median outcome here is David Montgomery, and the ceiling outcome is Josh Jacobs. That's how I have it thought out.
Do you think the team that drafts him ultimately will view him as a weapon for their passing game, or is that going to be missed for him?
So, okay, no, I don't think that they're going to view him as a weapon, okay. Right?
Yeah.
So, but nobody viewed Leonard Fournette as a weapon, and he has a 70 catch season, right? Nobody viewed Ezekiel Elliott as a weapon, and he has had some 50, 60 catch seasons, right? And so um, I think the question is he going to be enough of a 3-down player to where, like, he's a good pass blocker. Is he going to be enough of a 3-down player to where they don't want to take him off the field so he gets volume in dump offs? This is not a guy who you're going to be motioning out of the backfield, walking off on linebackers and trying to get run in. That's not his game. I don't see that. But I could see him being, a dump truck, right? Like, just loaded up with dump offs. That is for me enough to have a receiving game ceiling, right? I think that is in the range of outcomes here.
Yeah, I want to see this guy land in somewhere where they have one of those statue quarterbacks and a pretty good offensive line in front of him. Those are things that are going to lend him to be very, very successful. And if it's just an established offense in general, I don't know. I'm trying to think of one that might come to mind. I don't know, Minnesota brings him in and gets rid of Dalvin Cook or something. I don't know. I know they re-signed Madison, but that kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah,
something like that, where there's going to be the offense is going to be in the red zone a lot.
Miami.
They have a line. Yeah, Miami's good. Yeah,
right,
yeah, that's been the perfect landing spot
for him.
Yeah, it'd be tremendous.
Yep. Right, yep. And then they're going to use a rotation, but neither Raheem Mostert nor Jeff Wilson has an obvious passing down skill set. Right, so he could get just sort of 70% of all the work.
Yeah, I love it.
Both on the passing downs and the running down, and most of the goal line. I think he could be very good. He comps pretty well to me to Josh Jacobs. I also want to say one other thing. Going forward for the rest of these prospects, I'm going to be giving my ceiling prospect and my median outcome. I want everybody to just remember this. Half of the time, they will be worse than the median outcome, right? Yeah. And half the time better. But from here down, the floor outcome is they're not good, right? Which is why I didn't really do that setup for the first two guys. But from here down, the floor is they bust.
Yeah, and that was David Montgomery for this player, and I think that's fair with Jacobs as the upside. So it's yep.
Yeah, so Montgomery median, Jacobs upside is how I view this guy.
All right, man. So we're going to start breaking into the thick of the draft now as far as the running back position. There are, 9 or 10 guys here, all in one really just dense tier. And you can see that going across the screen here. But we're going to start with Israel Abanikanda, running back from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so Izzy Abanikanda, 5'10", 216, did not run at the combine. Ran 4.32 on his pro day.
4.32, insane.
Yeah. He didn't run at the combine, so he doesn't get a speed score. Take everything. Anybody who doesn't run at the combine and they run at their pro day, you have to take everything with a little bit of a grain of salt. You have to assume that there's a reason. You have to assume that I'm not saying they're running downhill with a tailwind or anything, but you have to assume that they found that there's a fast track they want to run on, or particular conditions, or
super springy shoes.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Something's up. He's just it's really fast. Yeah.
But still 5'10", 216, 4.32. If that had been at the combine, this would be the best speed score in the draft. If that had been at the combine, it would have been slower. Just right. But 1,500 combined yards and 21 touchdowns at Pitt this year. His best season reception total of 24 is okay. It's good enough to say, it's good enough to say this guy could be a dump off guy. And then if you've got a guy who is dangerous with the ball in his hands and he stays on the field and is a dump off guy, then you can pick up some yards in yak. Right, you can take some screens to the house, even if you're not piling up 12-yard downfield targets. Right, he's explosive. He has a ton of burst for his size. He sees the hole, he gets in it, he goes through it. He runs hard in short yardage. I think he's rising after his pro day. It would not surprise me. It would not shock me if this was the guy who nipped Charbonnet for running back 3 in this class and moved up a tier. He's rising for me. I think the ceiling is J.K. Dobbins pre-injury, and the median outcome is Latavius Murray.
Yep, you're going to see this player probably drafted in the early second round of your rookie draft. I want to talk about this a little bit. This thick, dense tier we have with these 10 guys. Draft capital is pretty much going to be the deciding factor as far as breaking this apart. I like Izzy as well. I like a few of these guys more than others, just personally, but Izzy's someone I like for sure. But draft capital is going to be the end-all, be-all, basically, for this whole tier. And if one of these dudes does get selected ahead of Charbonnet, then that's your new RB3. So, to Greg's point.
Absolutely, it wouldn't shock me if Gibbs went close to the best guy out of this tier 4.
Yep.
In draft capital. Yeah, so I like Izzy. Stock up for me, and I'm going to get some shares.
Next guy up is Tajay Spears, a Tulane running back. Had a big Senior Bowl. I don't know enough about this player other than that he had a big Senior Bowl.
Okay,
what's up with Tajay Spears?
He is 5'10", 201, ran a 4.47 at his pro day. So again, 4.47 for a guy who's right at 200 is not great, especially at a pro day. He's a redshirt junior at a Tulane, so that's older. He 1,800 combined yards and 21 touchdowns as a junior on 22 receptions, which was his best season.
It's a little low, but
honestly,
it's
more
enough.
more of an inside runner, less experienced as a receiver than this size profile would suggest, right? So if you see him and you're thinking, man, he's going to get 40% of the drives plus all the third down work, he does not, just because of his size, you think that he does not immediately profile as that in terms of his work usage in college, right? This was a between the tackles first and second down runner who is not that fast, but what he is he's that joystick guy who changes direction really, really, really fast, breaks ankles. He embarrasses guys. He will make highlight reel runs because they're easy to tweet out, and you go, oh my gosh, he turned that guy completely around and then went to the house, right? You got that guy to turn to the sideline and then he cut back inside of him, and he does not run through contact super well. He is not going to be a goal line back. If he's not going to be a goal line back and he's not going to be a receiving downs back, you're going to struggle with him. If he is going to be the receiving downs back and get half of the main work, but not the short yardage work, then you could have something real to work with. My ceiling comp for him is Warwick Dunn. My median comp is Rachaad White. And then the half of outcomes that are worse than Rachaad White are he's neither the goal line back nor the receiving back, and he's not real usable for you.
Yeah, he's just never startable in fantasy.
So I think he's rising, and I'm not comfortable with how high he's rising.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that like him a lot, and he does seem to be moving upwards. I've seen him mocked in the first round a few times. Another interesting where you see the draft capital falls to this player.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure. I could be all the way back with draft capital. Yeah.
Exactly, could be. Next guy up on the list is Mr. Devon Achane, the undersized tailback from Texas A&M, but just electric with the ball in his hands. I see this guy in the second round of rookie drafts, in the third, fourth round territory of NFL drafts pretty regularly. Devon Achane.
5'8.5", 188. Ran a 4.32 at the combine. That was the fastest running back time at the combine. He's a true junior out of Texas A&M with a speed score of 108. This is so he was 10 pounds heavier than a disaster,
Yeah.
And he was 2 inches taller than a disaster. And so he got sort of enough, and then he kind of did what he needed to do running. Although you kind of would have loved to see him in the 4.2s, given the size. he as a junior he had 196 carries and a bunch of them were inside. He had 1,100 rushing yards, 36 catches, which is really nice for 200 receiving yards. Great kick and punt returner, which again, like Jahmyr Gibbs, this is a guy who is like Jahmyr Gibbs but smaller, and is almost certainly going to be in that kick and punt return role. Where for me, some of the draft capital shine is a worry. Like I look at him and I think if somebody takes him in the high third round, and they're starting by thinking he's an elite return man, and then he's my satellite back. I worry that he's going to have such irregular touches that you're not going to want to start him.
Yeah, it'd be hard to project that. Yep.
And I know that there are some people who think that the move in the NFL is so much towards passing game that the really valuable backs are the ones that are passing downs backs. And like, I still do not. I think that is actually oversold, right? Like on some level, if they're not getting a good enough share of first and second down on schedule carries, they're not going to be guys who are going to really help your fantasy team, especially if you're paying anything for them, right? Free off the waiver wire, give me Jerick McKinnon all the time, right? But I don't love drafting guys where I'm hoping they fall into sort of that backwards RB1 area. He's sketchy to me, but if he gets high second round draft capital and somebody could fall in love with him, then I'm okay with him. He's pretty explosive as a ball carrier off tackle. I will say he does not succeed when he is contacted early in the play, and he does not break enough arm tackles to run inside.
Does he have the power? Yeah, I think that's the biggest question, because you can function at that size if you have power. I mean, you see it with Eckler and stuff, but like, so does he have that? I think it's the question.
He does not run. He on tape, I don't see him running through arm tackles.
Okay.
And I see a few too many drops for a guy of this profile. To me, the ceiling is more Tariq Cohen plus. I know other people see something closer to other people see something closer to Austin Eckler. For me, the ceiling is more Tariq Cohen plus, which is good. Tariq Cohen had a RB1 season, but that's the ceiling. And I think the median comp for me is J.D. McKissick. So he's a guy who I'm going to have to see a lot of success, a lot of draft capital for me to really want to buy in at ADP, I think. He was somebody who disappointed me when I watched the tape.
Yeah, it's this is a guy where I'm probably taking a receiver that got like first round capital over this player in my rookie drafts. So let's see that happening. But next man up is Mr. Tank Bigsby from Auburn. Is it 6 foot? I think the height's right there.
Yeah, 6 foot, 210.
210. Yep.
Ran a 4.56 at the combine. Ran a 4.45 at his pro day. By the way, which I only bring up to show you like out of 10th for anything at a pro day. Junior out of Auburn, speed score of 97.1, which, I mean, that's a tick below average, but honestly, anything in that 95 to 105 range is all just sort of good, not great. This is a quality 3-year SEC starter with 540 career carries and a 5.4 yard per carry average across those, which is just all very impressive. He has 62 career catches. He has a career high of 30 catches, which sort of ticks all the boxes that you need ticked here. He's kind of a good at everything, great at nothing running back to me, which is an undervalued profile in my view. He had a disappointing junior year after hitting all of the milestones as a freshman and sophomore, right? He had freshman starter, sophomore improvement and good season, and then as a junior it was like a little worse than his sophomore season. And if it had taken the next step forward, then this is the guy who's in that 106, 107 range where Charbonnet is trying to get. Relative lack of touchdowns. he gets caught from behind a little much. He has more like a 20-yard run speed than 60-yard run speed, I think. Pretty decent pass blocker. I think this is a guy who the NFL is going to like more than the fantasy community, and I'm going to have a lot of him in rookie drafts.
Yeah.
He is the other guy with Izzy Abanaconda, who out of this tier, who really rose a lot for me on watching the tape and passing the eye test. This guy passed the eye test very strongly. My ceiling comp for him is Ken Walker, but he catches the ball better, or 93% of Dalvin Cook.
Not Dalvin Cook, but almost Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. I wish.com Dalvin Cook. My median comp is Dameon Pierce.
Yeah.
Right. So I think half the time you get Dameon Pierce or better out of Tank Bigsby. My bad comp is Isaiah Spiller. That I didn't put a bad comp on here for a lot of guys, but that's the one thing is there are some elements of this profile that look like Isaiah Spiller.
Does he get a bump because of his name? Does Tank Bigsby get bumped up for that? He does for me a little bit, like maybe a couple slots as far as like rookie draft slots. Yeah.
He might, but in terms of ADP.
Yeah.
But I don't think he will in the NFL draft. And so if we trust the draft capital and trust our process, he won't.
Teams don't do name bumps in the NFL.
That's
what you're saying.
I don't think teams don't do nickname bumps. No.
Maybe they should start. Maybe that's
I don't know,
the key
man.
to figuring out this process.
I really like this player.
I anticipate.
Hey, we're gonna have a Tank Dell next week in the wide receiver show, who's teeny tiny.
Ooh, interesting. All right, moving on here. The next running back up is going to be Mr. Zach Evans from Ole Miss.
Okay, Zach Evans. Where to start with this guy, right? So
he's moved around a lot over the last year as far as his rankings. He's gone up and down heavily. Yeah.
So Zach Evans is a 5'11", 202-pound officially at the Combine junior from Ole Miss, a TCU transfer. Played 2 years at TCU, then transferred to Ole Miss. Did he lose his job to Kendry Miller, or did he transfer for other reasons? We don't know. This is, by the way, also a guy who went to TCU in part because he had some offers rescinded, in part because he had some team violations that got him kicked out of his high school state championship game. Right? So this is a guy who has the whiff of is a problem around him. Right? So problem in high school, problem in recruiting, transferred. Why did he transfer? We don't know. And then he goes to Ole Miss, where everybody thinks he's going to get a bell cow share, and he splits time 50-50 with an incoming rookie or an incoming freshman, who Quinshon Judkins, who is going to be one of the probably top running backs we're talking about in 24 months, right? So, like, true freshman had a big year, unexpected. So maybe he just ran into an unexpected prospect who split the game. But this is a guy who, as the number 2 running back prospect in the country coming out of high school, never really locked down a job all year. And then he went to the Combine and he weighed in 15 pounds under his reported weight, and then he didn't run. And then he didn't run in his pro day.
So what do you even do with him? It's so hard. Yeah, it's so sketchy.
Now, his career yards per carry is 6.9. His career yards per reception is 10.8. He leads this class, including Bijan Robinson, in percent of carries over 10 yards, 15 yards, and 20 yards. Right? So he showed you truly elite efficiency metrics. Also, his delta yards per carry, his yards per carry minus the yards per carry of other running backs on his team, was excellent. And the other guys on his team were elite NFL prospects. But the coaches seem to still want to give those guys half the carries.
It's interesting. Yeah, it points to a little bit of him being like a problem or a personality. It's weird.
The little things. Does he pick up blitzes? Does he have drops? Does he show up? I don't know. Right? for me, he easily has the biggest spread between his ceiling and his floor in this class.
Yeah.
The tape is amazing. It is beautiful. It is a thing of beauty. Like, some of his runs are just gorgeous. The analytics do not love him because he never gets any of the share stuff right. But the tape, he's one of those guys where when the ball is in his hands, he is just hard to put on the ground. Like, he's neither the biggest nor the fastest, but he runs like his jersey has grease on it, right? Like, guys do not get a hold of him and they do not get him down. And it's like, oh, there he slipped out. Oh, there's another 4 yards before somebody got a hold of him. Oh, it made me happy to watch him run. So here's my comp. My ceiling comp for him is full Dalvin Cook.
Ooh, full Dalvin Cook. Yeah, so higher ceiling than.
And my median comp for him is Tevin Coleman.
Ooh. Still very productive, though, Tevin
Coleman. Yeah. But it was never even really an RB2.
Yeah.
Like, never had hey, there's a guy who everybody wanted to take a job and never did, right? Always split work. So that to me is Zach Evans. I hope his draft stock gets hammered in rookie drafts so that I can go draft him. I hope he gets like medium draft capital.
Yeah, it's like a fourth or fifth round pick. Is that too low?
For high fourth,
and then you can get him in the third.
Right.
Maybe.
I want to get, or even like third round draft capital, and I'm getting him in like late third round draft capital, and I'm getting him in the late second round. I don't want to have to spend a high second round pick on a guy with this much bust in him.
Yep.
But I do want a lot of exposure because I think the ceiling is better than Gibbs. This is the second best ceiling in the class, easily. So had to spend the time on Zach Evans. He is.
There's a lot to talk about with him. I mean, there's
hits all the way. Mm-hmm. This is how this class meets 100% of expectations, right? Then if he hits all the way, then all of a sudden you've got like that class that has several super elite running backs.
Yeah. He's one that could definitely be that. If we get 4 or 5 awesome fantasy assets out of the class, this guy probably is one of them.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay. I have played in one Debbie league, and I own a Zach Evans share. I took him way too high last year, but like I said, with his transfer and with him losing some touches to Judkins, it really shook up weird for him. But I anticipate, like Tank, I'll probably have some good shares as Zach Evans, probably in that late second round area. Moving on, we have the next running back on our list is Sean Tucker from Syracuse, and he stands 5'9", 207, and was supposed to have some elite track speed, but what happened with Mr. Tucker here?
Yeah, he didn't run at his. He didn't run at the combine, and then he didn't run at the pro day, and then 2 days before the pro day, he released a Twitter video that had him running the 40, and he ran a 4.3 flat, or like a 4.31, like real fast. But like, nobody's there. I mean, I don't know what you can make of that, right? Like, if we're gonna do that, like, all of a sudden we ought to just start like stop watching guys' best 40-yard run in a game video. You know what I mean? Like, you can't. How much can you trust this? Or like, some of these guys ran track. Are we going to just like stop watch the first 40 of their 100 in the track and call that their like, that's not how we do this, right? And so I don't know what you make of a guy who's supposed to be fast, who then weighs a little light. We were hoping for 215. We got 207. And then he doesn't run. And then he releases the weird track. I don't know what to make of him.
He's been dealing with a hamstring issue, right? Lately.
So they say.
Yeah, that's the story.
But yeah, and so the track video was, or the Twitter video was from before the combine. So like, supposedly he hurt himself after that. I'm not saying I don't think Sean Tucker is fast. I'm just saying it's weird. Yeah. Tucker is with Bigsby and Evans as a trio of guys who we were hoping would compete for RB2 in this class, who had elite sophomore seasons and then down junior seasons. Right. So if anybody's talking about how this class hasn't lived up to expectation, they're thinking of those 3 guys who were mocked in that 107, 108, 109 kind of range last year. Yeah. And they all fell. Other guys did rise. I don't know where he's going to go. He could go in the second round. He could go in the fourth round. To me, draft capital will lead everything. His best season as a sophomore was 1,500 yards, 6.1 yards per carry, and 20 catches, which is very elite. Then last year he was 1,060 yards, 5.1 a carry, but did go up to 36 catches. I don't love the tape. Honestly, he's like one cut and a little bit stiff for me. He's very fast, but he's not real fast at getting back to speed when he changes direction. He does seem durable. He does seem like a potential 20 carry guy. He runs a nice wheel route. He's not a split out guy, but he does have more than just dump out talent, right? Like he can run a little bit of a whip route out of the backfield. So he can do some stuff for you. He does have some drops. I like the way he sets up his second level blocks really well. I don't love the way he sets up his first level blocks in the offensive line. So in particular, I think there are a lot of times when he needs to press the hole and get up inside. And he just bounces stuff too early and then gets strung out. And then he kind of gets away with some of that because he's so fast at the college level. But I worry that he has a tendency to bounce things he shouldn't, and NFL linebackers will string that out. When he gets into the second level, I like the way he sets up downfield blocks, and it helps him hit home runs.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of the home run hitting in him. He has good backside vision. I think he doesn't go inside to the play side enough. He does have a good backside cutback, and he bounces outside too much. I could see a wide range of outcomes. My median outcome for him is Alexander Madison, like a plus backup handcuff. And my ceiling play here is like Cam Akers without the Achilles rupture. So, I mean, real something. I like Sean Tucker. I'll probably be near consensus if he gets to the second round draft capital, and I'll be like below consensus if he gets fourth round draft capital because people won't fade him enough because he had the pre-existing name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't anticipate owning a lot of Tucker personally, as the way it's setting up right now. But the capital is going to be the determining.
Yeah.
We're getting through it here, making some good space. Just want to touch on that trade we made earlier, that offer we sent out for Kenneth Walker, and dude countered me back. He replaced Kadarius Toney in the deal with Donovan Peoples-Jones. So this is still me sending him the 211 this year and Walker for the 3 picks we mentioned earlier. Plus now it's DPJ.
You want a DPJ? Go back to.
No, I like DPJ. Yeah.
You wanted Toney though.
I wanted Toney. Yeah.
You gotta like DPJ less after the Elijah Moore trade.
Totally, and that's what I'm struggling with. Is I don't know what you do with that.
No, I think you asked for Toney back, and you offer something better than 211.
Okay.
Like get that. Yeah. I'll ask for Toney back.
I have
and
picks.
Offer. Yeah. Do you have a better? Or if you want to, offer next year's too.
Swap my second for his. I could do the 209. That's me moving. Or I could do the 24/7.
Yeah, start with 209 but put Toney in there.
Yeah, see, I'm moving. I'm negotiating. All right.
But
let's send it.
If he won't do that, or try the future side, you might even send 2 in parallel and offer the future second as the other version.
No, let's see what he says to this. But I might send that afterwards. I like that though. All right, we got another running back on our list here. Next guy up is Mr. Kendre Miller from TCU. Kendre is a 5'11", 250 pounds. He ran a 4.58 at the 40, but it's unofficial, or he didn't run at the 40?
He didn't know. So this is he injured his MCL in the bowl game, and he has not tested.
Right.
This is like I wouldn't report rumored 40 times unless the player had a real injury. But he ran some stuff between the end of the season and the bowl games. He ran some. He was working out with people, and it was rumored that scouts saw this. Okay, so whatever, right? We don't really know. He's a junior out of TCU. We mentioned him before with Zach Evans, right? This is the guy who, when they were sophomores, Zach Evans, in the middle of the season, started losing market share to Kendry Miller.
Yeah.
And then he transferred. Now, he also had an injury at some of that point.
Miller did, or Evans?
No, Evans did.
Yeah, okay.
But then he also came back from the injury and didn't get all his work back.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then was he all the way back from the, right? So again, all of that stuff. But Kendry Miller, one way to squint and look at this is he drove Zach Miller out of town and then turned around and had a big junior season and led TCU to a national title game appearance and all that other good stuff, right? He has good vision, he has good burst, he has good functional speed. I don't know how fast he is, but he looks fast on tape, especially for a guy who weighed in at the combine at 215, right? The downside for me is, for a guy who is 215, he does not love or do particularly well with hard contact. He goes down a little soft for a guy of his size.
Yeah.
And sort of an adjunct to that is he has this spin move that he goes to way too often that is not going to play in the NFL.
Yeah.
Which is a thing a guy might do if they didn't love hard contact, right?
Yeah.
And for a guy who's 215, I would like to see him finishing forward a bunch more than he does. He, on the other hand, he runs straight through arm tackles well, right? So this is a guy who avoids hard contact, but will get through half a hole and get skinny for a guy his size and burst out to the other side. He also flashes plus hands. I see one or two little plays where you go, oh, that was a not well thrown ball, Max Duggan. That was a not well thrown ball, and he brought it in. I think draft capital counts extra for this guy because of the lack of testing. He's up there for me with Zach Evans in terms of the draft capital is like the most important, right? My comp here, the ceiling comp is Lamar Miller, and the median comp is Samaje Perine, right? So Samaje Perine is a plus running back 2. I think that is your middle outcome here. But the ceiling outcome is that this is a guy who is a back-end running back 1 for fantasy because he is not elite, but earns the sort of all the
ton of volume,
role,
and some offense,
right?
Yeah.
And he's got that one cut. I hate comping a guy named Miller to Lamar Miller, but he's got he's got very similar build, and he's got a similar one cut and down the hill style, and he's got a similar thing where both of these guys run smaller than their size a little bit. So anyway, that's Kendry Miller. I like Kendry Miller. I enjoyed it. We'll see what the draft capital says.
Next up is Mr. Roschon Johnson from Texas. Roschon is kind of plus sized here at 6'1", 219. He ran a 4.58 40. Famously Bijan Robinson's backup from college. Didn't get the ball a ton in college to where we really have a lot of tape on him. But player I'm kind of interested in. I think he projects as a 3rd round dart. But what's up with Roschon?
Yeah, so I mean, speed score of 99.5, right? So everything you need from a bigger back. He was actually recruited as a quarterback.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's recruited as a mobile QB, who switched positions to running back after his freshman year. Never had a 100 carry season. The biggest running back in the top 4 tiers here. I really like the speed for size. He is the best pass blocker in the class. He has solid hands, right? So, some Samaje Perine in here too, right? With the oversized 3rd down back.
Yeah.
Right. Who could then be a flex play on your bye weeks, even as the number 2, but also with the size. He's probably in a position where the coaching staff says, and we just give him the job if the first guy misses, right?
Yeah.
So could be that. I think the ceiling here is Tyler Algier, right? This is that is a guy who he reminds me of on his good snaps, where he's a bowling ball dynamo kind of guy, like B- bell cow is kind of my phrase here, where like this is not an elite player, right? But he could fall into a situation where he could be a fantasy back end running back one, just because he can handle all the load, and there aren't a lot of guys who can carry all of that.
Yeah.
In this league, and there aren't a lot of guys who get to, right, and he has the skill set. By the way, he has the skill set in a two-back system to get the third down passing game work and the goal line work, and like have somebody else get the 1st and 10 between the 20s carries, which are right. That's the least valuable part, right? So he actually has the potential in a two-back system to get both ends of the most valuable work, and give up some to the explosive guy. I think the median here is he's Peyton Barber. He's a big, grindy guy who coaches like.
Peyton Barber. I haven't heard that one in a while.
And the ceiling is Tyler Algier, who, like, that was a 1,000-yard rookie running back, right? So I think that's in the range of outcomes, but it's unlikely.
Yeah, Roshan, interesting prospect. That's someone who's definitely got my attention coming out here. And last guy on our list, closing out this big, thick tier 4 here, is Dwayne McBride, running back from UAB. He's 5'10", 209 pounds. He is a junior. Dwayne McBride. Yep.
Yeah, so this is a guy who is only our second mid-major or non-Power 5 guy who we saw here. Tajay Spears was the other one.
Yeah,
right?
FBS they call it. Non-Power. I don't know.
No, he's F. No, this is F. This is Bull. This is FBS.
Okay,
but
all right.
Power 5, right?
Yeah.
So UAB plays. Like the first game I've watched tape of him 3 times, and the first one I watched was LSU, and it was just a mess. Like, he's got nowhere to run, right? But over his 2021 and 2022 seasons, his sophomore and junior seasons, he carried the ball 437 times for 3,085 yards.
That's a lot. Yeah.
In
32 touchdowns over 2
years,
he
led the NCAA in rushing with 1,713 yards,
yeah.
And he led the NCAA in yards per carry at 7.4, had 19 touchdowns. Okay, this is a guy who can carry volume. He has 5 career receptions.
5 career receptions. That's so few.
2.5 as 2 years a starter and 1 year a volume backup.
Yeah, that's
5
crazy.
career catches. And it's not that he can't. It's not that he drops the ball. It's not that other running backs on the team are coming in on 3rd and long and getting a bunch of catches. They don't throw the ball to the running back. And I don't know if he can. I don't know if he can catch. Right? He looked a little. He looked a little rough running the gauntlet drill at the combine. But like they literally run once, right? You know what I mean? So who knows? The level of competition is a concern, and the complete lack of passing work is a concern. Like, both huge concerns. And the athletic testing didn't run and isn't huge. All a concern. All of that, right? That said, on tape, the contact balance is just amazing. This guy does not go down to ankle tackles. He does not go down to arm tackles. He is one cut and go, limited wiggle. He is not going to juke you out of your shoes, but he will make a cut, force you to make an arm tackle, and then go right through that. I have here in my notes, WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get, right? So if Zach Evans has the highest spread between his floor and his ceiling, Dwayne McBride has the lowest spread between his floor and his ceiling.
He's the most narrow. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, the ceiling is Latavius Murray, and the floor is I have the median is Brian Robinson.
Yeah.
The median is Brian Robinson, and like the floor is Brian Robinson.
Yeah.
Like
this guy is Brian Robinson. Yeah.
This guy is going to be good enough to be the 2-down guy in a running back by committee, period. The floor is he absolutely can be the 2-down guy in a running back by committee. Does he have any way to take the whole deal and stay in on passing downs? We do not know. He does not scream it. Like the profile doesn't just look like that. But man, gosh, could he have a Jamal Williams season, right? Like where could he have a LeGarrette Blount 20 touchdown season ceiling if everything fell right, just because he's that guy. Yeah, I think that is in the range of outcomes here. I think he's a guy who I liked when I watched him.
It sounds like he's going to be worth the dart throw, wherever you can get him at, third-round player or whatever capital shake out at. Yeah.
If he's going in the third round of your rookie draft, I'm really happy with that. Right? So this whole group of guys, if we back out and look back again at tier 4, all of them I'm willing to have at a certain price. I think, Abanaconda, or I think it's Abanikanda, actually.
Abanikanda. Yeah.
I think you say it nasal, like Abanikanda. Abanikanda and Bigsby, and probably Miller and McBride are the 4 who made me the happiest. And like Zach Evans, the tape was great, but like you see all the red flags.
Yeah.
Spears and Spears and Tucker were more mixed bags. Roshan, I struggle to make out what it is. I'm going to take the draft capital with all of these guys.
Oh, yeah.
The guys who I might take above draft capital are probably Abanikanda and Bigsby. Those are and Wade McBride. I feel like all 3 of those guys, who are all kind of bigger, and I feel like I know they're gonna get chances, even if they end up being the injury away guy. They're gonna get chances and be good as an injury away guy as the floor.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah. I'm pretty excited for most all of them. I think Kendra Miller's kind of boring. It's who knows what you're going to get out of A-Chain. I'll be willing to own any of these players at the right price. Probably a first-round capital receiver gets drafted ahead of pretty much all of them.
I see. I don't think that's right. I think what's going to happen is 1 to 2 of these guys are going to get like top 50 draft capital,
and then that person will slide
and
up.
then that person is the person who goes ahead of maybe like a Jalen Hyatt at 27, right? You know what I mean?
And that'll be like your 111, 112, 201 area.
That's it, right? That's exactly what I think. Right? 1 to 2 of those guys is going to rise out of this group, and then maybe 1 to 2 of these guys tumbles a bit, and 1 to 2 of the guys we talk about on the next show gets up into this group. That's kind of my expectation.
Heard that. Well, thank you so much, Greg, for chopping it up with us. Thank you, the viewers, for tuning in today. Really appreciate your time and efforts. Didn't get a response on that trade offer counter we sent, so I will keep you informed on that. Subscribe, comment. Just stay plugged in, man, because we're going to be talking about all the prospects in the coming weeks here. And remember, only 23 days as of this recording until the draft. Take care. Have a good day.